So the framework that our group is using for the project is Laravel, and Laravel comes with a ton of stuff just by default, including a testing framework. It comes with PHP unit, which the files for that can be found in the test folder in the project directory. There's other frameworks you can use, but we just decided to go with the one that comes with default because that's probably the most well documented one. So it has various folders with different test files in here. Here's an example of a basic test case. It's just getting a certain page and then checking that the status that page returns is a 200. There's all types of different, I guess, areas you can test. You can do database testing, HTTP testing, which is what this is. I think there's others as well, but those are the main two I'm focusing on in this demo. So what I'll be doing is showing how to test the database. So the example I'll do is simply create a user, which that user will be the default user provided by Laravel, which is just, it's just a user with a name, email, and password. And then the other test I'll do is to go to a certain web page and check that the content of that page matches what we expect. So first off, just to how to run these tests, it's just PHP artisan test, and this will just run the default test they already have, which you can see they all passed. So now to write my own, I could put the logic in this file, but it's better to split it up into modules. So I'll make a new test, test file. So it creates this new file. Again, has an example, but we'll create a new function for a different test case. And again, as you can see, we're testing the creation of a user. So first we need to create that user. Oops. So like it showed it in that file, we have the name, email, and password. So those are the things we need to create. And also need to import user up here. And then so we created the user. Now we need to use an assert statement to actually run the test. So what we want to test here is to make sure that the database now has a user with the name of test user, right? So in Laravel, it's pretty straightforward. You pretty much type exactly that. So this just means, the current test case. We want to check that, we want to assert that the database has in the users table something that looks like this, has a name of test user. Now if you will run that the same way we did before, okay, testing failed. So I had already run this test before, just when setting this up and making sure it worked. So the problem is there's duplicate entry, and this can be fixed in Laravel and PHP unit by using an attribute called refresh database, which just means pretty much start from scratch each time you run the test. So when you're running this test over and over, you're not creating duplicate users. So you just need to use refresh database, and I believe we need to import this. Okay, we already have that up there. So now it should work. See, there we go. So we created the user. That test case passes. And now another type of test case. Obviously, you can go much deeper into the database stuff. This is a pretty trivial test case, but that at least shows how to do that. So another thing we'll be testing is testing that a web page route returns, has, I guess the page has the content that we're expecting it to have. So we'll create a new test case or a new test file. So Laravel, is an MVC, model view controller, which means we have views. So that's what we're testing. We're testing the views aspect of the project, which creates this in here. So this will be very similar to this. example code, but instead of asserting that the status is 200, we'll assert that the page contains certain content. So we'll do the same thing. We'll get the page, although this is going to be a different page that we haven't made yet, the home page. And we want to check that the response contains certain content, so we want to assert that we see this content, which in this case is just a simple welcome message. Now if we run this, it should fail. Right? Because we haven't implemented this route yet. So we need to make that first. So we go into routes, which will pretty much be the same as this. Only difference is the route is different and the page is named differently. And then we need to create the page itself. So we go into the views, create a new file, and I'll just create a simple header. Now this should hopefully work. Oh, there we go. So now this page, if we open this in the browser, it would show just welcome with exclamation point, which is what we're expecting in our test. We want to be able to see a welcome with exclamation point. Now these two examples I wrote are super simple, super trivial. There's a lot that goes into testing, a lot more assert statements, and a lot more setup and teardown type of things you can do. But at, I guess, the most basic level, this is two examples of different type of test cases you can write using Laravel and PHP Unit.